Previously on One Star Rising.
Round one is happening tonight. I'm expecting to see a growth pattern. Sam, she's taken a no-holds-bar approach to this competition. For being a young performer and an inexperienced performer, she's doing quite well in the competition.
Victoria had a major meltdown.
If Victoria ends up staying in this competition, she's got a lot to work on now. I understand that she has not adapted well to this environment.
I literally relied on you to help me out, and I'm tired of it, okay?
If there was one thing that Mason needs to work on, it's still that confidence level. You can tell that she's slightly hesitant. Mary is really starting to distance herself from some of the other contestants. She really is a front runner to win this whole competition.
So I know Mark thinks that, I have a great shot, and I'm very thankful for the time that I got. But going forward from here, I've decided to step down from the competition.
Okay, you realize that you'll be giving up your experience with the VIPs.
Yes.
That's when the judges come.
Yes, I understand that.
I've invited Carleigh Bettiol, best known as an original castmate of Hamilton, and Ryan Vasquez, best known from Wicked, to judge them in the final round.
Just want to let you all know that I'll be seeing you in January.
Today I'm pretty excited because it's the day the other VIP judges joined me and had their first look at all of the contestants.
Yeah, we are here in New Orleans. We are stoked to meet all the contestants and to start seeing the many talents.
Ryan Vasquez is an experienced Broadway performer, having done Wicked and Hamilton. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the only male member of having all 5 major parts on Broadway in Hamilton. And Carleigh Bettiol, she was an original castmate of Hamilton. Her and her group back in 2012 were part of the think tank groups in the basement when it was only 6 people and they were writing the musical. She did all the off-Broadway stuff. She made the original cast, and she's in the Disney Plus edition that many people have seen now.
I auditioned for Hamilton. I think I went in 7, maybe 8 times throughout the audition process. It was a pretty rigorous process. And then my agents called me and told me that I had booked it. Now at that time it was the Hamilton mixtape, not having any idea that it was going to be what it ended up being. I did the off-Broadway production at the Public Theater. And then I made my debut with the show on Broadway in summer of 2015.
Carleigh is a great singer, but she doesn't really like to sing. She loves to dance. So when she agreed to come down and be a VIP judge, I asked her to do a master class of dancing. And she said, "I'll do you one better, Mark. I'll bring the original choreography to Hamilton's My Shot, and I'll teach it to the kids."
Hi guys, as you know, I'm Carleigh Bettiol, was in the original company of Hamilton. I'm gonna teach you guys my shot today, some of the original choreo, just kind of the very end when it gets super intense and super fun. Leading up to Hamilton, I had graduated with a degree in business economics. I moved to the city 2 weeks after graduation and picked up a Backstage News when it was the newspaper. I'm dating myself a little bit. And I just started kind of pounding the pavement and auditioning for anything and everything to start building my resume. I didn't have an agent at the time. I started doing regional productions, as not a part of the union. And then I started touring non-equity, and then eventually I got my union card playing Val in a chorus line at Pittsburgh CLO. And then I went on a union tour and came back, and that's when I booked the lab of Hamilton. So that was kind of my journey up until Hamilton. And you know, I really paid my dues. It was a long road to get to Broadway for me. Let's get started. Okay, everybody's familiar with the song, I assume? Yes? Yeah, right. Okay, so we're gonna start right after Hamilton's big long rap when the ensemble starts to join into the vocals again. So I will turn around. He's gonna say, "And I am not." So on the "and," you're gonna punch your right fist into your left hand, "and I am not." And then they both come down by your side in fists. Yes? Broadway shut down in March. And let's see, so now it's been, gosh, we're going on almost a year. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's really sad, you know. You go into the theater district, into Times Square, and the marquees are darker, and there's no one in the streets, and it's sad for sure. I mean, I would say Broadway is the heartbeat of New York City, and it's been dark for almost a year now, so it's very sad. A lot of people out of work. Not throwing away my shot. And on that click back, your hands kind of open up and firework. My favorite show to do was In the Heights. I did that show on tour. That's another Lin-Manuel masterpiece. And I mean, I just loved it really because of the music. It had a ton of heart. I had never done salsa dancing before, so that was super fun. As far as roles, I mean, I've understudied a lot of amazing, amazing roles, but I think the one that was probably most fun was going on as Babe in the Cher show, which is the youngest version of Cher in that show. And you know, that's the I Got You Babe years, and you know, you're dressed in custom Bob Mackie, you know, to fit your body, and you know, you get the iconic wig with the bangs and the, you know, super long black hair, and that was probably the most fun. So this was shot. I am not throwing. So now you're gonna take your hand, and this little scoopity is gonna go under your chin.
I loved Carleigh's class. It was so fun. I haven't danced in a while, and I don't consider myself a dancer, but I think that it was really cool how she explained that if you want to be on Broadway, if you want to be in musical theater, you have to have a little bit of everything, and at least being able to move and be comfortable in your body is super important. So it was really cool to have her perspective and kind of get to know the level at which you are expected to move, even if you're primarily a singer.
And then you're gonna throw it to the side. Don't place it, throw it. So let's go from the top. 5, 6, 7, and I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Starting out, when I didn't have an agent who would get me appointments for auditions, I would go to these certain studios where they hold auditions at 5 o'clock in the morning and sign up on a list. And then you just kind of wait around until the audition begins at 10 a.m. hoping to be seen. Sometimes you weren't even seen. So it definitely takes determination. So your legs are gonna kind of do this, like, I don't know why this reminds me of Tetris, but it does. You know that one piece that looks like that? It reminds me of that. Okay.
I'm not a dancer, so to have her class and to really understand like what was going on, I'm definitely going home to go show my brother the dance, because we both were watching it all summer.
For every 100 auditions that you go to, 99 times they're gonna tell you no, right? So you have to just kind of stick with it and believe in yourself, and obviously have a passion for it, because if you don't have that, then you're not gonna have the drive that you need to kind of push through all of that.
I used to do competition dance in high school. I was definitely rusty. I could tell it's been a while since I had done things like that, but it was a lot of fun, and she was patient and taught everything very nicely. If we needed to go back, she was more than fine with going back and taking time.
How are we doing? Everybody's legs are starting to go, what? Yeah. Yeah. That's okay, that's okay, that's okay. But that's why this is so important, because maybe you're the most incredible singer, right? I mean, a lot of these singers on Broadway have to at least do something. I think that this will be super helpful for the kids. I mean, I know the kids are singers, first and foremost, but I think that movement is becoming such a huge part of what everybody needs on Broadway. So if any of these kids want to be on Broadway in the future, which I assume some of them do, I think it's huge to see how it is to kind of marry the singing with the dancing and all of that. You know, you kind of have to be able to at least move, if not dance. You want to turn on your heel or turn on your toe, doesn't matter to me, but the other foot should not come off the ground. Yeah, good question. Working with Andy Blankenbuehler, who is the choreographer of Hamilton, is a dream. It is a dream. I was fortunate enough to work with him on the In the Heights tour that I did prior to Hamilton, and then again on Bandstand after Hamilton. He is brilliant, and every single move has a meaning, which I really appreciate, because I think there are a lot of choreographers that are just kind of, you know, kick your face and turn because it looks cool or it looks good. Andy has a reason for everything, and he will lose sleep over it, which is why I love him so much and I love his work so much.
Carleigh's class was definitely a challenge for me. I am not very quick on picking up choreography, as that was quite obvious to everybody who was watching.
Building the choreography in Hamilton. I remember when we were doing the 4-week lab, and we came in one day, and rehearsals are 8 hours a day, and we set the room where it happens. We took the entire day, the 8-hour day, and set the room where it happens. And I left that day, and we came back in the next morning, and he said, okay, I need everybody to just scratch all of that, and we're gonna start fresh. I didn't like anything that we did yesterday. We're gonna start all over. And I thought I was going to lose it, because I mean, your brain, your heart, I mean, you just put everything into it. So to hear that is it's just a lot. And it really kind of taught me how to just be ready for anything, because it's very hard. You know, and when you do book a show, you're doing 8 shows a week. If you're an understudy or you're a swing, then you're in rehearsals throughout the week in addition to doing the shows. And it's difficult, you know, it's your life. Here we go. Last time all together, don't hurt your neighbors, let's hit it. Here we go. 5, 6.
What was your first impression of them?
I mean, they seemed really excited to be there, which is great. You know, it's always kind of a bummer when, you know, you see kids that are like, I don't feel like doing this, because then you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe they don't have like such a passion for it, but these kids seem like they love it and they want to be here, and that's the best that I can ask for, because, you know, you don't want to teach somebody who doesn't want to learn. So I'm excited to see what they have to offer tomorrow.
So when they walk into the event center ballroom, kind of bow-legged because we're doing those CrossFit things that are going to kill their legs, and we'll probably be laughing. And they were like, Mr. Mark, why didn't you join the class? I'm like, I'm way too old to do what Carleigh does, so I'll leave it to the young people on that. So.
You know better.
What are you most excited to see with the kids tomorrow? I know they're going to bring it. They're excited to sing in front of y'all, but I think some of them will surprise you.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm excited to see song choices. I'm excited to see how excitement and nerves and all of that come through, because I mean, I always say that I get so nervous for performing because I love it so much. I think if you don't get nervous, then something's missing. You know what I mean? I get nervous because I care so much and I want to do well because I love it so much. And I think that that's important. So nervous, exciting. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm excited to see all of that.
Well, I'll give you a little sneak peek. You know, we drew lots on which order, to be fair,
Sure.
that they're going to go into tomorrow. And they already had their songs picked out, and they've been going with the team mentors. The very last performer is singing Burn. So it's a big song for the person. And it's poetic with y'all two judging that just happens to be it. So I'm excited. I can't wait to get started tomorrow with the competition and see who rises to the top and claims the title of Season 1 champion of One Star Rising.
Yes, same. I'm excited, looking forward to it.
Hey y'all, Ryan Vasquez here. About to go in and teach the master class with the students and hear some of these voices that we're going to be seeing in the competition. So looking forward to it. Carleigh's in there now, teaching a dance class, finishing up some My Shot. I'm going to go check it out and looking forward to this next bit.
Dear Theodosia, what to say to you? You have my eyes, you have your mother's name. When you came into the world, you cried, and it broke my heart. I am dedicating.
After I graduated college, I moved to New York City, worked some odd jobs, performing and otherwise, and ended up in the company of Wicked on Broadway. I covered Fiyero in that company and spent about a year there. Shortly after that, I auditioned for a show called Waitress. They had just had an out-of-town production in Boston, and there was some jumbling of folks who were leaving the show to do other things. And so a slot had opened up. I went and auditioned for that and ended up doing a developmental lab of that show, and it got taken to Broadway, so I got to do the Tony Awards for Waitress and a lot of the sort of inaugural Broadway show things, which was very cool. And while I was in Waitress, they were casting what would be the first national tour of Hamilton. And I was waiting outside of a studio to do a free gig for a friend, and the casting director had come out and seen me and had sort of a light bulb moment, and I went in and auditioned the following day, and it was just over the weekend. They were in dire straits to fill this slot, and so we ended up starting rehearsal maybe 3 weeks after that. Toured with Hamilton in the ensemble and covering Hamilton, Aaron Burr, and George Washington. We went through California, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, and after that, a spot had opened up in the Broadway company, as does happen with these big juggernaut shows. Folks are always shuffling around, and so I went to the Broadway company of Hamilton and have been there ever since.
Domestic life was never quite my style. When you smile, you knock me out, I fall apart, and I thought I was so smart. You will come of age with our young nation. We'll bleed and fight for you. We'll make it right for you. If we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you. We'll give the world to you, and you'll blow us all away.
We're going to be working a little bit with the students and sort of gauging, I think, the differences between performing for something like a competition where, you're really focusing on the voice and there's sort of a pop performance element to it, as opposed to what we're more used to in the world of Broadway and musical theater, right, which is this sort of acting-based lyric approach. And I think that we're going to see that approaching stuff from this angle and material from this angle is actually, can be applied to the pop world as well, can be applied to live performance as well. And I don't think a lot of folks usually think of that, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Safe and sound for you. We'll come of age with our young nation. We'll bleed and fight for you. We'll us all away someday, someday. Yeah, you'll blow us all away someday, someday. Yeah, you'll blow us all away. Thanks, y'all.
We have one day off on a Monday, and then we come in on Tuesday evening for a Tuesday evening show. We usually have a company meeting before that show on Tuesday to sort of address notes and things that we'll be doing over the course of the week. And then we pretty much get right into it. Sometimes we have 2 shows on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and then of course the weekends are always packed. I always joke that actors have the sort of opposite schedule as regular folks, right? We're working really heavily in the holidays, we're working really heavily on the weekends and in the evenings. So the Mondays are sort of the sanctuary, right? It's when we can go to the post office and be left alone.
What are just like some objective observations? Not like that was so good or that was so bad. I hear enough of that. What's in both directions, by the way. Yeah, what were just like some observations? Yeah.
I love the way you like took the song and like made it your own. Like I loved it. I thought it was
Thanks. So first of all, making it your own, right? This is such a lesson in how to just go about this whole career. We all have idols that we want to emulate. Like I grew up watching performers on Broadway. Like I would take a trip to New York every once in a while and I would see people and I would be like, that is me. Like that will be me. I will follow in the footsteps of so-and-so, right? Beyonce. And you're sort of, the whole time you're sort of thinking like, if I can just do what they do, then I'll sort of replace that generation of person, right? And the truth is, you'll never be that person. Not because you'll never be good as that person or good enough, right? But no one will ever be them because they're already doing that. And no one will ever be you because that's uniquely you. However you sort of are in touch with what parts of you are the truest and like what you can bring into something, I think is just, that's like how you're also gonna find success.
Your emotions were like touching.
Thank you. Vulnerability is power. Yeah, vulnerability is power. Yeah, thank you. Would you say like 90-10, my eyes were closed versus open? Like it was pretty much closed the entire time, right? In a show, like in a musical, like you cannot do that. You're in the real space of like talking to your baby, you know? And so finding a blend for a show like Hamilton or a show that this review of these pop songs, right? And finding like a blend of where those things are to where you can like effectively communicate and where you can also like feed the style, you know, is good. So for instance, this is like, this song I think also has a lot of examples in this. So can I have just a volunteer just to, who knows the song? Not to sing, but just to speak the lyrics. Who knows it? Who knows it? Yeah, what's up? What's your name?
Mary.
Mary. The first lyric, could you just say them? It's okay if you mess it up.
Yeah. Dear Theodosia, what to say to you? You have my eyes, you have your mother's name.
I love Ryan. Ryan's actually the name of my boyfriend, so I love a lot of Ryans.
That's like communicating what the words mean, right? Obviously. You were like listening that time as opposed to being like, when you smile, and in your brain you're like, ding, 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 ding. You knocked me out, you know, like there's no break. You would say, when you smile, you knock me out. I fall apart. But you can't just go out there and be like, and I'm not throwing away my shot. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, like you have to like have an opinion about everything you say because you're a human person on that stage, right? So figuring out what that means for you, it's this rallying cry, right? It's you know, maybe you're somebody who's been swept up in the revolution already. I grew up in San Jose, California, and it happens to be the home of the largest children's theater in the country. They cast everybody who auditions, and so I started doing musical theater as just a hobby, and I think what many folks do, which is to find community. But in high school, I was doing a lot of theater still, but I think as many folks are sort of told growing up as artists, it's you know, not a legitimate career, right? It'll be difficult to have a family, it'll be difficult to have, you know, a stable life. And so I didn't really think that I would pursue it professionally for those reasons, right? Because of all this sort of naysaying.
And it was my mom who said, you have to apply to one school for theater if you're going to go through this whole college application process, because I know it's what you really want to do. And so I did my research. I applied to the University of Michigan for musical theater. I ended up going there. I loved my 4 years there. I learned so much, found a community there that was new for me as well. I ended up signing with my first agents, and then sort of working very odd jobs. I did a show with that they were developing for the Backstreet Boys early on, things for Radio City, for the Rockettes, all sorts of eclectic sort of jobs, right? And the one stable job that I had was being a reader. I was the scene partner. I would just go and sort of be a fly on the wall and read the scenes with the folks who were coming in, but you learn so much doing that. And so, after taking in the sort of do's and don'ts of auditioning in that way in New York as well, I ended up auditioning for Wicked sort of through all of that.
It's too swaggy, put it down, but I'm still fighting. The whole, the story of the choreography, as opposed to the sort of ding and ding, 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 ding. It's like that's not a story. And I did hear her talking about, Andy, how specific he is with everything. That's why that is so genius. Songs and lyrics are that way too.
What Hamilton is about, right, is this sort of change in perception at its core. You're coming in knowing maybe peripheral details about these people in history, and you're leaving with new perspectives on essentially everyone in the show, right? And of the male roles, I think that Burr sort of exemplifies that, right? You come in knowing one tiny detail about his life, and you end up sort of getting a more coherent picture of who he was and sort of starting to think critically about that in our history.
Everybody's obsessed with how genius Hamilton is, the lyrics, the music, right? So you gotta give it its due with the specificity and the sort of really communicating the idea, serving the music, letting it be a partner with you, right? So I think that I'm hoping that with everything, with any song that you're preparing, Forever, you can always think about an exercise like that, something that will get you thinking about the words. Because the other thing is, when you're nervous, I would bet, because I'm the same way, 9 times out of 10, when you get nervous, you're listening to how your voice sounds. Folks a lot of the time will ask me about my favorite Hamilton moment, and it's actually before I joined the company. So while I was doing a show called Waitress on Broadway, we performed at the Tony Awards the same year as Hamilton. We were calling it the Hamilton inauguration ceremony because it essentially was a celebration of this show, right? That had really come in and changed what folks were used to seeing on stage. We were watching the rehearsal for Hamilton, and I'm the type of person who I never listen to albums before I see the show. I try not to see anything promotionally because I want to go in fresh, right? And I think my arrogance sort of bit me there, because seeing a show like Hamilton for the first time without any context can be overwhelming, right? So as we were watching the rehearsal for the Tonys, I tried to sort of look away. I didn't want to see any of it. And actually the news had broken that the night prior was this devastating shooting in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub. And the folks at Hamilton had elected to perform the Battle of Yorktown without the guns, without the muskets. And I remember thinking, I cannot let my sort of haughty attitude about not seeing shows, before I get to see it all at once, stop me from witnessing this moment. And so we went out and we watched a little bit of the rehearsal, and I think that's when I realized that this show, without even having seen it, was really going to change the scape of not only our industry, but the country, truly. So that was especially powerful. Anytime I get nervous, I'm not thinking about seeing my daughter, my dog, seeing my daughter, singing Dear Theodosia to a baby in a crib. It's because I'm whoop, that note was foul or something, or oop, that was flat or whatever, or I gotta breathe more or whatever. Is when you let that go and you start communicating, that's the leap, right? Which is the scary part. But it's only then when the people in the audience are transcended by something, because they're what are they looking at? Where are they?
It was really awesome to meet him in person, and he made very valid points about he wanted to go to NYU. I've wanted to go to NYU since I was 8 years old. It was very valid, all of his points related to me, and I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, what's up?
What is your best vocal warm-up?
Gotta warm up, because right now y'all are invincible, and I feel like I am too. It's sort of running on no sleep and chugging coffee and doing a show and you feel amazing. And I'll say, unless you're really devoting that sort of regimen, you gotta have something that at least sets your body and reminds it sort of, this is how this is how we do this.
Definitely like the thing he said about vocal health and vocal, all the warm-ups. Because being on Broadway is a big task, to be able to perform, give it your 100 every day. Being here, we're singing like all the time. So it really helped me in a way to be able to, practice good vocal health when you're singing with all these amazing singers. It's hard not to want to sing all the time, but you really have to, do what makes you comfortable and do what is good for you.
The more you can like massage that onset is really, really nice, because then your voice isn't thinking that every note you're singing is like an attack. Because sometimes when you're hoarse, you're gripping and you're trying to sort of muscle it, which is never good. It's like the more relaxed on that entry path you can get and massaged out, literally you're massaging it, right, is good. And another thing too for vocally warming up is physically massaging your body. And so your tongue is the strongest muscle like by density in your body, right? So much tension in there. Getting deep into your tongue and massaging in there.
Ryan suggested some vocal warm-ups because, yes, as y'all can hear, I'm very hoarse. The simplicity of just pushing on your muscle, like your tongue, and trying to relax your jaw. And this has very similar, senses or something like that with it kind of relaxes you and lets your anxiety go. And how warms up your voice and kickstarts it like a car, and also does that as well. So he was giving us a lot of tips that were very, very helpful.
Everyone's got jaw tension in here, right? Getting that and just sort of like just working that out, with your fingers before you sing is great. You should feel this sort of like slack jaw, sort of raw thing. That's perfect. You're sort of loosening all the musculature so you're not gripping anywhere and then making you grip in your throat. Random thing too is that your tongue and the nerves in your tongue are connected directly to the nerves in your hands. So you sort of be doing that, and then as your hands are tired from doing that, as you go, you just sort of rub in, like right before you're about to perform, right before you're about to do anything, rub out all that tension in there. I guarantee you have a ton of tension in your hands. We're using them all day, and then just be able to feel that sort of glow and go in. You'll feel so much looser, I guarantee.
Is it worth taking out a lot of loans to go to these schools for musical theater? If like I audition, I get in, but I don't get enough scholarships without loans, would you say it's worth it to take that job?
If you are feeling invigorated by this place or by multiple places and you're feeling this is my path, if you have that sort of feeling of something washing over you that allows you to see the clarity in that, yes, I'm going to pursue this and do this, then like no one is to tell you that you can't do it.
It was really cool to just have someone in the musical theater world, because I would love to be a part of that one day more than just doing productions at my college. And so the question I asked him, like, if it was worth it. And he gave me a really good answer and pretty much was just like, if this is what you desire and you know in your heart that this is what you need to do, then it's worth it, because if you don't, you're going to regret it. So yeah, I really enjoyed everything he had to say, and his journey after his undergrad, and the fact that he had to work 2 or 3 jobs, and his theater stuff was something that he did on the side because it doesn't pay the bills. And so like that's another reality for me too, is like I'll either go to grad school or I'll try to find like a theater company and just assist in every way I can, but then also have a day job on the side. But in a way it's worth it because I would be doing what I love, just like he is doing, so.
Now, you met the kids for the first time today. What was your first impression?
Really smart and inquisitive minds. I think generally you sort of run into, with this generation, a group that's so hungry for sort of the spotlight or the affiliation with something like Hamilton or the next big thing, that they're sort of blinded to the work ethic than the real questions, and so I was really encouraged by that. We were talking a lot about process rather than product, which I think you need a healthy dose of to make it in the industry.
My expectations are high, I will say. I mean, which I think is good. I'm really excited to see, especially after the things that we had talked about today, and getting the chance to talk to folks in the industry. I'm excited to see what they bring.
Thank you for coming down again, Ryan.
Of course, thank you. Thank you.
It's not that
shit, it's more like, wait, you ready?
So basically, the thing that really got to me in 2020 was when the schools got shut down, and then when you work really hard for a GPA to be as high as you want it to be, and then it just all fails because you get very overwhelmed with the online schooling. So in 2021, I just want everything to go back to normal. I want everything to open back up. Yeah, that's my hope and wish for the new year.
Last year, I kind of, after the pandemic hit, I, stopped going to church, and I stopped, being as faithful as I was. And, after, the pandemic and, churches started going back, I haven't, felt the motivation to go back to church because, after the pandemic, I was just so depressed, and I was always so stressed. So I hope in 2021 I can just fix my faith and just try to be better with it, because that's one of the main things that I use to help myself. Because after the pandemic, I talked to God a lot, just by myself. But after that, I just for the first month. But after that, I just stopped, and I just laid in my bed all day.
As I know, I just graduated during Corona. We did get a graduation, but it was maybe 30 minutes long. We walked in, there was 1 or 2 speeches, and then we walked on stage and then left right away. So didn't really get to take pictures with anybody. Got to make 1 TikTok, thank God. But yeah, I was just, I don't know. But I wouldn't trade, as horrible as it sounds, I wouldn't trade the quarantine or anything that happened with this pandemic for anything, because I genuinely changed so much as a person during it. If this pandemic didn't happen, I would not be me right now. I'd be a completely different person.
Well, I started high school officially, and it was a lot different because we couldn't go back full time at first, and then we had to do online school, and it was a lot overwhelming from my middle school. So from going from middle school, having to cut that year short, and then going straight into high school late was crazy, because I missed a lot of my middle school, my last few months. So it was really crazy from just jumping straight in to high school and missing out on a lot of my last middle school things. So yeah, and one thing I hope that happens this year is that I can make the most of my freshman year, and that I can start high school off on a good note again.
One thing that I'm looking forward to this new coming year is people coming back together and creating new projects, whether it be film or music, or even just going on tour and bands, being able to go on live concerts, live stages again in front of a big audience, and having big group gatherings, and we can all feel emotions back together again instead of doing a bunch of virtual stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to in 2021.
I ended up losing my job, and it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I ended up having a lot of time to myself at home, and that's how I got back into music, and I learned to fall back in love with my voice and be more confident in myself and sing, and that's what I love to do. And this coming year, I am going to proclaim and declare that this is my year, and when one door closes, another one will always open, and this is my year for amazing opportunities, and I feel like it's going to be great.
Throughout this year, I feel like I've seen change in myself. I know Daniel said that too, and I feel like everybody had this time to reflect, and kind of this crisis has united us, and been able to kind of let us in on how each other is feeling. So for this next year, I hope that things can be safer, and the entertainment industry can kind of start going again, and live shows can start happening, and you can be with your loved ones, you can be with everybody without having to feel worried. And
Obviously, this has been a year that was filled with trials for everyone around the world. But I think that one thing that we can take from it is to appreciate the things that we do have, and not take for granted the time that we have with our family and our friends, and just the things that we take for granted every day. I know that definitely showed me those things. And I hope that in 2021, when hopefully things start getting back to normal, that we take that back with us and we start making a difference and we start really making connections with people that we love and putting in quality time with those people. And as far as my New Year's resolutions, I'm finishing school and I just really look forward to starting that new chapter, and I pray that that's a good, successful new chapter.